Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for liking and sharing the videos, and appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button for me. I want to cover a topic that's been on my mind for about a week and a half now because I saw an article a little while ago about Uber. And look at a lot of us use Uber for transportation, especially maybe if we're in foreign cities or traveling or on business or on vacation. A lot of us use Uber and the platform and the Uber app to order food, right? If it's late at night and the kids are hungry and you had a long day at work, it's easy to hit that Uber delivery and Uber Eats and have food delivered to your front door. So the story I saw about a week and a half ago, was about a family who had unfortunately had an injured loved one. I think they had a child who they had ordered an Uber car for, and there was an accident. The Uber driver crashed the vehicle, and their son or daughter, I believe it was pretty badly injured, not killed. And so they worked through the process of bringing a legal claim against Uber having to do with the injuries that were suffered at the hands of this Uber driver. And basically what the article had said is that it was a nightmare navigating through the legal machinations of having to bring a legal claim against Uber and how limited their rights were. And so it was on my mind for about the last week or so to just do some research of my own. So when I had a little bit extra time last week, I decided to go online and pull up the Uber terms and conditions. And evidently, when you go on the Uber app, whether it's Uber Eats or for a driver for transportation, you are agreeing to accept all of the Uber terms and conditions. When you go on Uber's website, you put in what country you're in, what language you want to see the terms and conditions in. And so I printed them up, and it's single-spaced. And for the United States terms and conditions of Uber in English, it's 29 pages. 29 pages of single-spaced, stuff like that, okay? So I wanted you to be aware of this. I wasn't aware of it. It's a bit eye-opening. Is it going to change anybody's behavior? Am I suggesting that it should? Not necessarily. I mean, I think it provides, for transportation, I think it provides a very, very good service. It was a lot easier for us to use Uber when we were, for example, in Europe this last summer. When we were in Paris. There's no way I could have rented a car and navigated the streets of Paris. The one-way streets, it would have been impossible. Same thing when we were down in Italy. We used Uber a lot, and it was actually less expensive than the cabs. So I'm not bagging on Uber. I just think that all of us, because it's so widely used, and the Uber Eats as well, it's so widely used that we should be aware of what we're accepting. So I printed out the terms and conditions, and it is 9 chapters, and contractual relationships, chapter 1. Chapter 2, and I want to discuss this briefly, is the arbitration agreement to arbitrate disputes. The services is chapter 3. Third-party services, including autonomous vehicles and content, accessing the services, user conduct and requirements, payment. Here's another one I want to discuss briefly, is disclaimers, limitation of liability and indemnity, and then other provisions. So it starts out by saying important. It's all in all bold. Please be advised that by agreeing to these terms, you are waiving your right to seek relief in a court of law, and you're waiving your right to have a jury on your claims. It says these terms of service constitute a legally binding agreement between you and Uber Technologies, all of its subsidiaries, representatives, affiliates, officers, and directors, governing your use of Uber's personalized, multi-purpose digital marketplace platform and any related content or services, including, but not limited to, mobile and/or web-based applications, the Uber app, and together with the Uber marketplace platform called the services. So if you choose now or in the future to provide transportation, ride sharing, etc., via third-party services, these terms of service do not supersede or otherwise impact the enforceability of any agreements you may have with Uber or its subsidiaries regarding such third-party services. So what they're saying, basically, to cut through the legalese, is that these terms and conditions will control. Okay, let me address a couple things. Arbitration. You guys, I do a stay out of court series. I probably do one on arbitration. I think it's important. People think or assume that arbitration is a much more efficient way to bring a legal claim. They think it's cheaper. You get a better result. Being a litigator for 30 years, again, everyone's going to have their own input on this. It's not legal advice, but I would beg to differ. My experience with arbitration, is it quicker? It usually can be quicker depending on what jurisdiction you're in. But it's not cheaper. Usually it's more expensive because you have to pay an arbitrator, a retired judge, someone hourly to hear every single thing that comes up in the case. You waive your right to a jury. You have one person. It's kind of like going with a bench trial. You waive your right to a jury. And for the most part, at least in California, arbitration awards are not appealable. You actually would have to show fraud in order to appeal an arbitration award out of California. Extremely difficult. So you can't just go through the process. If you get a bad result, like in a court trial or a jury trial, you can go to the appellate court. Not so with arbitration. So, and the rules, the terms and conditions of Uber say that you're agreeing to use the Federal Arbitration Act rules. So you're not even entitled to use the arbitration rules in your specific jurisdiction or state. And I've litigated some stuff under the FAA before, and that's Federal Arbitration Act. And let's just say if it differs from your state law in a negative respect, it can hamstring you in a legal case in your particular state. So just want you guys to be aware of that. And it says any dispute that arises, a claim or controversy in any way arising out of or relating to the terms and conditions, your access or use of the services, the apps, or any incidents or accidents resulting in personal injury or death to you or anyone else that you allege occurred in connection with your use of the services has to go through binding arbitration. Now, in all fairness, there are a few exceptions they carve out. One is if there's sexual harassment or sexual conduct alleged. Another if it's a small claims type matter for under whatever your small claim jurisdiction amount is. Or the last would be for some kind of injunctive relief. But, most of the claims, injury claims, things like that, if you get some bad food or something like that through using the Uber app, they are going to be included in this binding arbitration provision. That's the first topic I wanted to cover. Second big topic, and I'll leave it here today, is disclaimers, limitation of liability. Listen to this. The services are provided as is with no warranties, okay? Here it says Uber does not control, manage, or direct any third-party providers. Third-party providers are not actual agents, apparent agents, ostensible agents, or employees of Uber. If a dispute arises between you and any other third party, you release Uber, it says, from losses of every kind of nature, known and unknown, suspected, unsuspected, disclosed or undisclosed, arising out of or in any way connected to the dispute. That's very, very broad-reaching language, folks. Uber does not control, endorse, or take responsibility for any user content or third-party content available on or linked by the services. And they do not represent or warrant that the services are free of viruses or other harmful components. Here's the one I want to address here. It says, limitation of liability. Uber shall not be liable for indirect, incidental, special, exemplary, punitive, or consequential damages, including lost profits, personal injury, or death, or property damage related to or in connection with or otherwise resulting from any use of the services, regardless of whether it's negligent, either active, affirmative, sole, or concurrent of Uber, even if Uber has been advised of the possibility of such damages. That's insane release language, guys. Uber shall not be liable for any damages, liability, or loss, as it says, it goes on, arising out of your use of or reliance on the services, any transaction or relationship between you and any third-party provider, even if Uber has been advised of the possibility of such damages. Let me explain this one to you real briefly relative to child restraint systems. It says, Uber shall not be liable for any damages, liability, or losses arising out of lack or improper installation or use of child restraint systems. for guests on rides requested through the services for whom a child restraint system is legally required. So understand that sometimes these Uber cars that pick you up, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get Uber cars that look like they're on their last leg. Some of the Uber drivers keep their cars in pristine condition, but a lot of them don't. And if you're not paying for Uber Black or whatever, some of these cars are not in good shape. If you have a minor child or whatever, it's not just for minors, but anything with restraint systems and child restraint systems, Uber disclaims all liability. So just be aware of that. Make sure that if you get a car that looks like it's really on its last leg or not taken care of, you may want to take a pass on that. Not telling you what to do. Lastly, the limitation and disclaimers in this section do not purport to limit liability or alter your rights as a consumer. It says that it cannot be excluded under applicable law, because some states or jurisdictions do not allow the exclusion of or the limitation of liability for consequential or incidental damages. In such states or jurisdictions, Uber's liability, here we go, shall be limited to the extent permitted by law. So what they're saying is, yes, the law of your state will govern the extent to which liability can be waived, but anything that's not specifically precluded from a waiver in your state is included in this release of liability language. So guys, I went a little long today. I know it's reading a lot of legal jargon, but I wasn't even aware of that. Okay, maybe I'm the last one to know, but there's 29 pages of single-space terms and conditions that you are agreeing to when using any of the Uber technology, Uber apps, or Uber services. So take that for what it's worth, and you don't get a jury trial. You got to go through arbitration. Again, is that enough to make you stop using the Uber app? For me personally, I'll continue to grab Ubers if I'm, out of town or in a place I don't know, for ease and even for efficiency. But I'll leave it there today with that. I hope you guys got something, out of the content today. Again, I appreciate you watching and liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. Talk to you soon. Bye.